Hey everyone, thank you for joining us for another MMT Social Hour. And today we're going to be talking about moderate resorts at Walt Disney World. So, if you joined us for our last discussion, we talked about the value resorts, and I am joined by a whole new team almost. I was able to convince Brittany to stay and not leave. So, thank you, Brittany. So, I am joined by Brittany Hooks, but I also am joined by Jenna Ensign and Tiffany Drupal.
Hello.
And I am Jesse Fouts, your host. And thank you for coming and being a part of this conversation because, we love to talk about Walt Disney World and the resorts. And, there's so many great Disney hotels out there to enjoy. And this is yet another category of resort for you to consider when planning your vacation to Walt Disney World. Um, uh, Before we go into it, I would say so. My very first stay at a Walt Disney World property was a moderate category resort, and we're going to talk about that property here very shortly. But let's if you haven't seen on our social media content, if you're not subscribed to one of our channels, either TikTok or Instagram, or looking at on Facebook already, if you're watching this, most likely you're on Facebook with our groups. Our team has been putting out some 1-minute overviews of each of these resorts. They're fantastic. I highly, highly recommend that you go check those out on our Instagram page. We also have some carousels that you can check out that kind of go through our favorite resorts at Walt Disney World and why they're our favorites. But there's just so many great things. And, before we get started, I'm not going to ask you what your favorite is because we're going to go through them first. Then I'll ask you what your favorites are here for the team. And then I'll ask you, the viewer at home, what your favorite is. So, how many of you have stayed at every single moderate resort out there?
Me.
All right.
Well, are we counting the cabins at Fort Wilderness?
Ah, there you go. There you go. Let's see. All right, now
Okay.
you just
Take
Because I
that back
haven't
then.
stayed there, but I've stayed at the others.
so you just jumped ahead of me on that. I was going to make a point.
Okay.
No, that's great. This is fantastic. So we will not be highlighting the cabins at Fort Wilderness tonight because they have not reopened since prior to the pandemic, and I think there's a reimagining of these cabins going on right now. So I don't even think we'll see them till 2024. So we are going to talk just tonight about properties that you can book for 2024 today, because you will start to be able to book these next week on the 31st. So let's just jump in. Let's check out what these resorts are, what's considered moderate, and we'll go into a little bit about each of these resorts. So starting with the Port Orleans or Port Orleans.
There you go. There you go.
But I'm going to say Port Orleans because that's how I say it.
No,
So you say tomato, I say tomato.
it's wrong.
So who can tell me what was Port Orleans Resort called before it was Port Orleans?
It was Dixie Landings before it was Port Orleans from your resident Louisiana girl.
That's right. There's two sections you can see, but they're two totally different resorts. They are really close to each other, so you can walk between the resorts. You can enjoy some of the same amenities between the resorts. Highly, highly recommend that you head on over to French Quarter, grab some beignets, go to the Sassagoula Floatworks, because that, in my opinion, is the best quick service dining option on property. I think Sassagoula offers such a great variety. But let's talk about Riverside first. So Riverside, and I'm going to pick on our resident Louisiana.
I'm here. I'm ready.
Do it.
So tell me, what are your thoughts about Port Orleans Riverside?
So it's a great moderate resort, and it is a big resort. It's very large, and they have different sections. So they've got like the Alligator Bayou section, which kind of looks more, I guess, cottage, I call it backwoods feel. And then they have the Magnolia section, which looks like you're in like the plantation part. And then they also have the sections where you can have the royal guest room. So if you've got a special princess, the royal guest rooms are like ideal. They have princess touches all over the room. And they also have the fireworks and the headboard. It's a beautiful resort. And I also love that it's so close to Disney Springs. We're big Disney Springs people. So it's really nice. It's a big resort. It's got lots of options, lots of pools. I liked it. It's not my favorite, but I liked it a lot.
Yep. Yep. So, and I'm going to put somebody else on the spot here. Tell me a special room that you can find at Riverside. Anybody?
The Royal Guest Room.
Besides, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was the first room I ever stayed in with my family when my kids were really little. We really didn't know what we were doing. We just happened to pick that resort. We picked that room. Don't really know why, because I have boys, but it is a more princess themed, Tiana themed room. The headboards are gorgeous. I mean, really just very whimsical and magical for a Disney stay. So if you have a little princess that wants to stay in something really like high end feel, but in a moderate price, those rooms are really great.
Yep.
I love the little touches. Like the the faucet that looks like chip.
Lamp.
And then they have the lamp.
It
sorry.
looks like the genie lamp.
The genie lamp, that's right. I was thinking, and then I was getting my movies crossed, but the footstool and the Beauty and the Beast is the stool in the room. Like just those little literal princess touches.
So for fans of Princess and the Frog, Tiana, you're really going to find that feel for her here too, especially in the Royal Guest Suite. Definitely. That's a great option to kind of step up, and you're not breaking the bank, right? Again, moderate level. So the pricing is not outrageous, and it's a good way to do like a special theme for your little one, or your big kid like me, or somebody who wants to go and enjoy something like that. Riverside really, one of my favorite draws to Riverside is probably one of the long-standing pieces of entertainment here at this resort. Now, we talked about value resorts in our last segment, and we talked about how, we didn't really go into, entertainment or extras. And that's because at a value property, again, your value resort, it's kind of limited on what you're going to have there on property as far as entertainment, things like that. When you start to step up that moderate level, and you see it here at Riverside, you're going to get that lounge. You're going to get that area. You're going to get some upgraded features and dining options that you wouldn't have at a value property. And one of those is the Rivers Roost. So you can go and see Yeehaw Bob perform.
Love Yeehaw Bob.
So fun.
He's so fun.
So fun and family friendly. Definitely, bring the family. There, even as a local, it's like, hey, let's drive over to Port Orleans Resort and check out Yeehaw Bob. But let's go to the sister property, and this one's going to be, this is a different feel of a resort, French Quarter. So, talk to me about French Quarter, Tiffany. What do you know?
Well, it's funny you should ask me. You should have flip-flopped me and Jenna. I've never stayed at French Quarter. I've stayed at Riverside. That's my favorite. Yeah. But French Quarter, it's like you mentioned earlier, it's so close. You can just walk. You can ride the boat over if you don't want to walk. Grab a beignet, like you mentioned. They have a really cool pool over there. The kids really like that pool. It's got that. What is that thing? Is it a dragon?
It's like a dragon.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just cool. And they have a really cool playground over there. It's just the whole resort, both sides of it just have a really neat feeling to it.
I like that French Quarter is smaller. Like it's a smaller resort. Yeah. It's not as large as Riverside. So coming from home, right? Like the French Quarter Resort reminds me more of like the Garden District in New Orleans, where you got these like cute little gardens and all of the architecture that's reminiscent of the French Quarter. I think it's more quaint feeling than Riverside. Like Riverside feels like you're on this big sprawling plantation, and French Quarter feels like you're in the quaint quarter.
Wherever you're staying at in the French Quarter, it's really easy access to get to the main lobby, to get to transportation. So if I have a family that maybe has some older people in it that don't want to do a lot of walking across the resort, that's a great option just for easy access in and out when you're headed to the main lobby or to the buses.
Yep.
Right. I agree.
So French Quarter has, and I often tell anybody who's asking, what's a more adult friendly resort option at Walt Disney World? And French Quarter comes to mind first for me. I think not that you won't see kids at French Quarter, but I think that you're not going to see a lot of kids at French Quarter. It's not going to have the same draw. It doesn't have the same theming that's going to bring in something like Art of Animation or even Riverside, but because there's no special royal guest suite there or anything like that. So it's actually a great place for couples to go if you're wanting to just do a couples only trip. You got honeymooners coming down, those types of, this is a fantastic option. Of course, and who doesn't love beignets, but on top of who doesn't love beignets, they actually serve a boozy beignet here. Oh my goodness. You can actually get a boozy beignet. It's a fantastic moderate resort option.
And something that Jenna mentioned earlier is the ease of access to Disney Springs.
There you go.
There are ferry boats on the water for both Riverside and French Quarter. You just jump on the ferry, takes you straight over to Disney Springs. It's actually a beautiful ride in the daytime or in the nighttime, just to take a boat ride. But Disney Springs, automatic shopping, food, entertainment, so much to do, really, really close to you. So that's a great location.
And you mentioned honeymooners too. They do like horse-drawn carriage rides here at this resort. Like, it's so laid back and beautiful. And the whole resort to me feels deluxe at a moderate price. Like the grounds itself are beautiful.
You said that on your honeymoon. So we did that on our honeymoon. We had a horse-drawn carriage ride at Port Orleans Riverside on our honeymoon. It was nice. And I had never been there before. So that was my first experience there. And I was like, wow, this place is really nice.
Yeah. It's really pretty.
Yeah. But yeah, two fantastic options for the moderate category. And we'll keep moving along here. So our next moderate, and this happens to be Jenna's favorite. I'm just kidding. This is not Jenna's favorite.
You're going to make me twitch. You're saying Orleans wrong. You're talking about boozy beignets. Oh.
So Disney's Caribbean or Caribbean. So there's another, fight for you. Caribbean or Caribbean. All right. So I don't know what you pronounce it as, but Disney's Caribbean Beach, Pirates of the Caribbean, right?
Right.
This has really become kind of the flagship moderate resort over the last several years, especially with the introduction of the Disney Skyliner.
Right.
And this property is huge, big.
Yeah.
Really big. So big, in fact, that they actually tore down a section of it to build what deluxe resort? Anybody?
Riviera.
Yes, and it's still massive, even with that whole section gone. It's still huge. But this resort, I think, is a fantastic option for different families that, if you want a moderate level resort, you want ease and access to the parks, and you want a great pool with great food options, Caribbean Beach is fantastic.
Yeah. So this resort quickly became our family's favorite because as my kids got a little older, with 3 kids and 2 adults, we liked that moderate price point. Coming from Pop Century, a value resort, we wanted to step it up a little bit, but we needed a space for 5. And so you can get a 5th sleeper room is what they call it. 2 queen beds and then a twin pull down bed. It comes out right underneath the TV. And an adult can fit on this bed as well. So it does sleep 5 adults, but I always put one of my kids on it. And during the day, we can tuck that bed back in the wall for more floor space. And it ends up being the perfect layout for our family because we are park open to park closed people. But on the day we arrive and the day we depart, we like to enjoy the pool, the food. There's some great restaurants. There's a pool bar. And then that Skyliner view with the Riviera right across the water from Caribbean Beach.
Yeah. That makes it so, and that opens up so many more dining options too, right? So you can walk right over to the Riviera or hop the Skyliner for a quick little ride if you want to. But then you get all the things at Riviera, like the Primo Piada and Topolino's. They're all right there, which is so nice. This is
Yeah.
probably my least favorite moderate resort, only because of the popularity, I think.
So I would say don't get on the Skyliner and don't go over to the Riviera and eat at Primo Piatto, even though that's really good. I would say go to Sebastian's Bistro first because Sebastian's Bistro is fantastic, and you can also their pool bar there.
Oh
What's
yeah,
not
that's
Banana
banana
cabana.
banana cabana.
fantastic, but even better than that, in the picture that you see on the screen, this is actually a kid's splash and play area.
Yeah.
The pool there is probably in the top 5 on Disney property, in my opinion.
There's a hot tub as well
Yeah.
that's super popular, kids and adults. But yeah, it really is awesome at the end of the day. After you've been in the parks, your feet are tired. Our family have a tradition that we go to the little sandy area on the water right in front of our room, take our shoes and socks off, and we walk around on the sand. We lay in the hammocks. At nighttime, we lay in the beach chairs that they have lining the sand and just relax before we go back to our room. So that has become our favorite tradition. The kids run around in the sand and just wear off that last bit of energy before we head to bed for the night.
So I would
It's
even,
cute.
I don't know if you've seen this or not. I've seen pictures. Have you seen the retheming that they're going through on park sections? So tell me about the retheme for those that haven't seen it. They
took away those atrocious pirate rooms, which, I mean, obviously some people still love the pirate rooms, but those double beds, who likes sleeping in double beds?
Yeah.
But they're Little Mermaid themed, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Which is
super
interesting.
cute. Right. I think that's so interesting.
Where
But it's
else
like a very
do you have
subtle
them?
Little Mermaid. It's not a
Right.
art of animation, real splashy, colorful, very subdued colors. And there's a fifth sleeper as well in those rooms because the pirate rooms did not have a fifth sleeper. So now we're getting that fifth sleeper and brand new rooms. I'm going there this summer and I'm requesting that room because I am desperate to get in there and see the new retheming.
Well, and I think that's something that we need to note about moderate resorts overall is they're not overly themed, minus the royal guest room, but like they're not overly themed. Like I feel like the value resorts are like super themey. So if you want that like existential Disney
in your face
feel, right? If you want that, like I'm walking into a Little Mermaid room, then you need to book a Little Mermaid room at the Art of Animation. But if you want that little elevated with the hidden touches, then moderate is more where you'll find that.
Right.
I do love though that there's going to be a fifth sleeper option with Little Mermaid theming because, you know, at Art of Animation, it sleeps 4 or you got to bump all the way up to a family suite, which is a lot more expensive. So I like that fifth sleeper option.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the rooms do need to all be renovated at Caribbean Beach. I totally agree with you. They have been a bit dated, just the standard rooms. But that fifth sleeper does it for me every time. I'm like, I'll do it because I need that fifth.
That's such a money saver too, because you either have to go to family suites with a family of 5, you have to do family suites, a fifth sleeper, or go up to a villa in the deluxe category. So that definitely saves. And if you're not in the room, then absolutely a moderate fifth sleeper makes 100% sense.
Absolutely. And that's, you know, it's interesting because you think about the family dynamics of, you know, where you can sleep at a moderate resort. The budget wise is not crazy, you know, right? You're not getting a value. It's hard to go a family of 5 going into value property. You're either having to do a family suite or you're doing 2 rooms connecting. So at least you get that step up and you get to stay at a moderate level category without going to the deluxe pricing. If it's a budgetary concern for you coming to Walt Disney World, that's great to save the money and stay at a moderate property. So having that fifth sleeper is a great option. But one of the great draws to Caribbean Beach, and, you know, we'll move on because I know we've parked here a lot, but one of the great draws at Caribbean Beach is the ease and access to Hollywood Studios and Epcot, because this is the hub. The Caribbean Beach station is the hub station for the Disney Skyliner. It's under a 4-minute ride to Hollywood Studios, and I think it's just over 8 minutes to Epcot.
I think it's 15 after the slow roll through Riviera.
Yeah.
But there's a Joffrey's coffee station at the Caribbean Beach Hub. Yeah. So you go get your breakfast muffins, your donuts, your coffee, and wait in line before it opens. I mean, that is my ideal day, is just start at Joffrey's, get on the Skyliner, and go.
So I love, a lot of people are worried, like where they're going to stay at Caribbean Beach, if they're going to be located farther away from the main station. But I would argue this point, if you're farther out, and I think it's the Trinidad section,
Yes.
you can actually walk over to the the Riviera station,
Riviera.
closer, hop on the Skyliner there. So, even
It's
though
same on the way back. Whenever
Yeah.
you come back to your hotel, just get on the Riviera bus or get on the Riviera Skyliner.
Yeah.
Coming back to Caribbean Beach.
it's
And those
fantastic.
are closer buses.
Um, let's
Look, I'm all about the closer bus. If you can find me a closer bus, I'm down.
So moving on to our, and I apologize that you see Caribbean Beach on here twice, but that's fine. That's a technical error on my part. But we're going to talk about Coronado Springs Resort. Coronado Springs Resort. This is the final in our lineup of moderate category resorts. But I saved this one for last because this one this is kind of like a dual identity resort, right? Because you have classic Coronado Springs, and then back in 2019, summer of 2019, they opened a brand new tower for it's called Grand Destino, and that's what you see in the picture here. The Grand Destino Tower is more like a deluxe than it is a moderate.
Yeah.
But you have
I think this resort is so underrated just for the sheer fact of you've got so many rooms in the standard area. They've got delicious food at Three Rivers and Rick's, and then you've got the Grand Destino Tower that is deluxe on a moderate budget.
And that lounge at the top of the tower.
Oh, the Dahlia
is so
Lounge.
nice.
Yes.
I
So
love
Toledo
that.
is also at the top of this tower. It's a tapas restaurant. It is by far one of my favorite places, and it's hidden. Like nobody books there because it's at Coronado, right? Oh my God, it's so
And can't
good.
you take a sangria class?
Yes,
Coronado?
You can.
yes,
Mhm.
you
So
can.
fun.
So you're going to find, the Grand Destino Tower. You're going to find a strong theme of the Salvador Dali, and Walt Disney had a relationship, small relationship with it, and you'll find little pieces of that strewn out through the resort. But Coronado Springs draws a huge convention crowd too. This is where you're going to see there's a lot of conventions that go on at Walt Disney World all throughout the year. We at Marvelous Mouse Travels held one of our first annual conference there several years ago, and some of us even stayed in the tower then. But interesting fact here, interesting fact. This is the only moderate category resort that offers a club level.
Yep, that's true.
That's true. Yeah.
So
It's also, we had a standard room here, standard view, and we got to see the fireworks from our room. Like I didn't even expect that, but we were in the tower, and I was like, "Oh, what is this? It's fireworks. This is fantastic."
Yeah.
here's another fact for you.
Oh gosh.
This resort has more sit-down dining options than any other resort on property.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I believe it.
Really?
Yeah, it's got Three Rivers, Rick's,
Open right now. Yeah. So you've got
Toledo.
El Mercado
technically-
Market. It's a market.
The Three Bridges, is that a restaurant technically, or just?
well,
It's like
you
tapas.
can get
but
service there.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
I
Lots
mean-
of good options.
Yeah, this is my favorite, and I think that's why. Like, it's still a big resort, but like, there's so much right there that we all know I'm a deluxe girl. But this is if I have to stay moderate, this is where my choice is.
If you have to
And
slum
it's-
it out, right? If you have to
Stop. Even if it's not in the tower, I don't know, something about their rooms. Like, I just like the theme,
Mm-hmm.
but it's
it's a fantastic option. And so, quick story, real quick, and I'll move on from this. So my very first stay at a Walt Disney World Resort hotel was the Coronado Springs, and it was way before they had Grand Destino Tower. And I remember thinking, man, this is a huge property, great property. But even then, it was a great option because it was very convenient. The bus, this is considered an Animal Kingdom area resort.
Yeah.
But even still, you're not that far from everything else, even on, with the bus drive, because, where it's located on, property. So, but yeah, this was our very first, and definitely have loved going back, especially with the Grand Destino Tower. But even the rooms here, the standard rooms, if you go to the Legacy side of Coronado Springs and you don't stay in the tower, they in the last 6 years, I think, renovated those rooms, and so definitely more modern feel in the room. But Coronado Springs, great option. So. So let's talk about amenities real quick, and we'll go through this because I know, we could spend so much time talking about these resorts, and I highly, highly recommend that you check out some of those videos we put out there for the overviews, and we'll do deep dives into these resorts because I think each resort deserves its own topic discussion. But let's talk amenities. So we talked about this with value resorts. You're going to get some of the same base level amenities across the board, like your free transportation, free parking, but another amenity we just talked about versus, say, a value resort is what's different about a moderate resort versus a value resort? Anybody?
Table service.
Yeah.
Table service. Plus the closer buses. That's always a big thing to me. Like my bus is closer because I'm at a moderate resort.
Yeah. How about so you still get the same early park admission in the morning. Just announced dining plans coming back next year. Staying on site, you're going to be able to participate in a Disney dining plan, and then of course the Magic Bands. But overall, let's talk real quick. I know room accommodations, and there are so many different room accommodations. There are suites that you can get, especially. Let's go back to Coronado Springs real quick and talk about that. I mean, there's suite options there. You can actually, I know it said club level, but you can actually get a suite there. But there's, not just standard rooms. A big draw is that they have standard rooms that sleep 5. So you're not paying for a family suite. So that's different.
Does Coronado does not have 5th sleepers, right? Am I crazy?
You are correct. So Coronado Springs is the only of the moderates that doesn't offer a standard with a 5th sleeper. So you would have to look at a different accommodation for more than.
French Quarter doesn't have a 5th, right?
That's true. Yeah, you're right. A French Quarter doesn't.
I usually lump those two together. That's okay.
Yeah.
I just couldn't remember, but I know the Casitas sleep, I think 5, but those are the big suites. There's aren't a ton of those, but.
Right. So we would love to know, and I'm going to ask the team here before we go, what their favorite moderate is. I think, but we would also love to know what your favorite moderate resort is. So please let us know in the comments. And let's just go down the line. Jenna, real quick, what's your favorite?
Coronado Springs. Coronado.
Brittany.
Caribbean Beach.
Tiffany.
Port Orleans.
Port Orleans.
Jesse?
I'm gonna go with Coronado. I think Coronado is definitely my favorite. I think before the Grand Destino Tower, I would have said Port Orleans would have been my favorite. Port Orleans, or however you want to say it at home.
You said it right.
Don't listen to Jenna. You can say it however you like. So definitely
grammar police over here.
Yeah, definitely do what you want. You have the freedom to say it however you want, and you also have the freedom to reach out to one of our Marvelous Mouse travel agents to help you book a Walt Disney World vacation, and they can help you decide what resort works best for you. So definitely take advantage of their services. It's completely free to you. There's some great specials out there. You can reach out to marvelousmousetravels.com/contact us to be connected with an agent that can help you book your next Walt Disney World vacation. And before we go, just closing thoughts. Anybody have anything that needs to be said on moderate resorts that just has to get out there?
Oh man, I don't know.
No.
You asked what was different. I think, there's just other options as far as transportation. You've got the boat to Disney Springs at Port Orleans. You've got the Skyliner option. It's just a little step up, and I love that. And just the overall feeling of the resort is just just a little bit of a step up from the values.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate you watching this with us and follow along, and we'll be discussing deluxe resorts next. So please join us for our next session on deluxe resorts. And wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope that you have a marvelous rest of your day. And thank you for joining us for another episode of the MMT Social Hour. Take care.